Just the seven,
7
right?
人しかいないところを見ると8人の中の1人
Hitori was it?
やっちゃいましたね。
まず羽鳥が死んだこと
Yeah, that was him, right?
正直羽鳥が死んでくれて私はほっとした。この会議から抜けようとする者がどうなるかキラははっきりと見せしめにした。
Yeah, that's clear.
みんなこれで羽鳥の死の意味は十分分かったと思う。肝に銘じる。
Oh, take it to heart.
エルの顔や名前、肝心なところが何も分かってないじゃないか。
Face and
本当
name.
に役に立つのか。
ガンガン自白してるって感じだ。
ああ、もうこの録画があれば7人を逮捕できるんじゃないか。
やはりまずい。
ELF 保険の日本進出。
Ooh. Gotta stop that expansion, huh?
四つ葉の顧客も多くが流れる。
こんな簡単に。
もう一人四つ葉のリゾート計画に反対している。これでいいか。いいです。
They're just crossing him off.
病死、死の時間設定。僕たちの考えていた通りだ。もう間違いない。
いえ、残念ですが、今挙げられたものが死ん
Right,
で初めて
that's the
間
thing,
違い
right?
です。
You're trying to catch Kira.
この7人の会議での言動、そして会議で挙げられたものが死ぬまでの
The new Kira.
7人の行動。これをこれからずっと事細かに見ていけ
Ooh,
ば、
just the one red?
必ずキラを捕まえられます。
龍崎、
何ですか、二人揃って。
龍崎の考えているやり方はできない。間違っている。
フレキテ。
この7人に殺しを続
He's
けさせてい
expecting
く
this.
ことでキラを捕まえようとしているようだが、そ
Right.
んなことはできない。
明らかにこの7人は殺しをしている。松田の証
This
言と
is
この映像を出すところに出せば立証できるのでは。
困りましたね。
Right, it
今
is.
捕まえてしまったら、すべてが
Oh, he looks so different there.
そんなことをしたら、アイバーが彼らに接触した3日後に捜査の手が伸びたことになり、怪しまれます。それと何よりも、キラが誰なのか断定できなくなる可能性が極めて。
That's the main objective, right?
せっかくここまで来て、また振り出しに。
See, it looks different again.
キラを捕まえるためには、キラだという証拠がどうしても。
そいつに当たる可能性は7分の1と考えていいのか。
え？私は多くても2人。
Ooh.
7分の2と考えてますが。
それなりの発言力を持っていそうなのは波川。
電話するならここのを使ってください。逆探も盗聴もできないようになっています。
Ooh, long hair guy. Oh.
四つ葉グループ第一営業部部長波川礼二さんですね。
Namikawa.
ああ、そうだが。
私はエルです。
Elvis.
その会議室にはカメラと盗聴器が仕掛けてあり、今の会議の映像は全て撮りました。
冒頭の話題は羽鳥氏の死のこと。
Hattori.
それをしていただいて、今後私たちに協力してもらえれば、あなたの罪、はいえ、
キラ以外の者はキラに脅されその会議に参加していたとして。
Oh.
ああ、
Now the real question is.
これではエルにつくしか。いや、エルについたとキラに分かったら殺される。
So it's not him?
エルがキラに勝てばあなたは無罪。キラがエルに勝てばあなた方はそのまま裕福な人生。
あなたはどちらにも合わせておき、傍観していればいい。エル、キラ、どちらが勝ってもあなたに損はない。
あなたにとっての損は今捕まってしまうことです。
Yeah.
私が最終的に出すであろう答えを先に見抜いている。
では、
So he's not Kira. Or the new Kira.
ELF の奴らと全財をいつ殺すかだが。
Again, this guy.
こういうのはどうだ。1ヶ月コイルに時間を与え。
やっぱり八神君はすごいです。
That was good.
殺しを延期させるだけではなく、波川から情報を得られるかもしれません。しかも私のやり方に似ていますし、私より早く考えついた。もし私が死んでも、八神君がエルの名を継いでいけるかもしれません。
何を縁起でもないことを。これで1ヶ月以内にキラを断定し、証拠まで上げなくてはならなくなった。ここからが勝負だろ。
はい。しかし四つ葉に最初に目をつけたのも八神君ですし、やはり私より有能と言っていい。
Oh, look at this. He's
ヤガ
openly
ミ君な
just
らできるかもしれません。もし私が死んだら L を継いでもらえますか？
oh
L の
go
名
on light. Let's hear it.
キラで演技をしているなら必ず継ぐと答えるはず。
何言ってるんだ龍崎。これをしている限り死ぬ時は一緒じゃないのか。
He's figured it
そう
out.
か。龍崎、悪いが今龍崎が考えていることをみんなの前で言わせてもらう。龍崎は僕がキラなら、今僕がキラであることをしらばっくれ演技でこうしているか。キラの力が他のものに渡り、今の僕にはキラだった自覚がなくなっているという。龍崎は僕がキラだったと考えているし、もしその力が人に渡ったのだとして、
Ah,
もう一度その力が僕に戻ってくるように
Aha, there it is.
考えている。
so he is thinking like that.
単に操られていたのではなく、自分から人に渡し、自分の疑いが晴れたところで力を戻すという
Look at
戦
that.
略。
Look at that.
すごい。私の考えていることをここまで的確に。
エルと同等の地位を得て、警察なども自由に動かせる立場にあり、裏ではキラ。最強だな。
The
それを
ultimate.
僕にならできる。いや、やりかねない。そういう意味で言ったんだな。
はい。演技をし、L の座を奪うことを狙っているのなら、その計画を皆の前でばらすはずがない。ということですね。
Whoa. This is great.
この僕が今存在するキラを捕まえたその後で、キラに殺人犯になると思うか。
I mean,
そんな
yeah.
人間に見えるのか。
思います。見えます。
Yeah.
あの7人の中にキラがいるとは限りません。つながりを持っているだけであれば、あの7人がキラに殺されるだけです。
That'd be really
7
risky
人の中
then.
に絶対キラがいるというのでなければ、今捕まえる意味はありませんし、仮にいたとしても、現在誰がキラなのか判定は難しい。
7人を捕まえれば殺人が止まる可能性もあるはずだ。
Ah, see again. Two trains of thought. Sorry.
その可能性はある。
やっぱり私は一人でキラを追います。
Whoa.
この本
Yeah,
は
this
ヤガミ
is
さんたちに
conflicting,
任せますし、私は私のやり方で操作していきます。
He's trying to catch Kira, get to the
口論になる
source.
だけです。
つまり龍崎はあくまでもキラに絞って追うということか。
はい。この事件はキラを捕
Exactly.
まえなけ
You
れば
gotta go for
解決
Kira.
しない。
Or this new
目
Kira
の
at
前
least.
の何人かの死を阻止することが意味のないことだとは言いません。しかし全ての真相を解明しなければ、
Mogi's really watching that cup,
キラ
huh?
が現れ犠牲者は結果的に増える。ならば、何よりもキラを断定すべきというのが私の考えです。
The one. Just like the red.
あなたはライト君を愛していますか？
はい、とて
しかしキラも崇拝している。
も。はい。
では、ライト君とキラだったらどっちを取りますか？
あそんなのライトに決まってるじゃん。
捕まえたいそうです。さあ、どう
Look
し
at
ます？
this. L's
ラ
up
イ
to
ト
something
が
here.
捕まえたいなら捕まってほしいと思います。
ではライト君の役に立ち、ライト君と一緒に操作できるなら協力したいですね。
龍崎、
ライトのためになるならミサは何でもします。
ちょっと待て。
ちょっと待って。
アマネミサが L を知っているかもしれないという
Oh.
あの7人に報告させます。
He's using her
アマネミサは
now.
第二のキラの容疑で L に取り調べを受けたらしいと。
それマジだしね。
アマネミサが L のことを知っているかもしれないとなれば、必ず四つ葉はミサさんを CM に起用し、いろいろ聞き出そうとしてきます。もう松田さんのドジの時、CM などで使ってくれとは話をしてありますし。
それはダメだ。なんで？ミサが危険な目に遭うからに決まってるだろう。
私の身を案じてくれるの？やだー。でもミサ、ライトのためならそのくらいなんでもないよ。
いいかミサ、エルのことを知っているかもしれないとなれば、相手はどんな手でそれを言わせようとしてくるかわからない。
大丈夫。ミサどんな拷問されたって言わないもん。
はい、そうですね。私やライト君が死ぬか、キラが捕まるかです。
Oh.
さあどっち？
キラ まる。ライトのいない世界じゃ私生きていけない。
はい、正解。
おい龍崎、むちゃくちゃだ。
時間がないんです。私焦ってます。それに天音美沙、この子の根性とライト
Look
君
at
の愛は
this. Look at
世
this.
界一です。
龍崎さん、ミサ今まであなたのこと誤解してたかもしれない。変態とか言っちゃっ
Look at
た。
Elle go.
ミサさんはライト君にふさわしい最高の女性です。
あ
ありがとう龍崎。
好きになりますよ。また友達が増えました。
Oh.
ライトの友達はみんなミサの友達。仲良くやりましょう。
八神君は私と違う操作方法をお父さんたちと取るようで、私とミサさん2人ということで。
何それ。
やり方が汚いぞ龍崎。これじゃ僕はこっちの
Right.
操作に
Life
加わ
figured
る
it
し
out.
か。いや違う、この操作自体に僕は反対なんだ。ミサが危険すぎる。
それにミサはライトのためなら。
Oh, okay, look at this.
やはり現状では7人の逮捕は難しいか。何かいい策はないか、もう松田。
He's not trying to really listen to any of that. Oh. That was nicely done. Nicely done by Elle. Whoa. New ending as well? Right then, episode 20. Now, I had no idea that this is going to have the new opening. So, I mean, it was actually quite hype, to be honest. But I couldn't check it out just yet. I'll probably come back to it for the next episode 21, once I find out, if it is safe to watch. Again, in terms of spoilers and hints being a little too clear or showing me things from future episodes and spoiling that before, right? It actually is shown through an episode. But yeah, first thoughts on the song choice. I mean, it's quite a contrast, isn't it, from the first opening? But, I actually liked it. I was digging it. I was really digging it. It was quite metal. That's for damn sure. And even though I wasn't looking at the screen, you could still see, a bit of it, or I could see the reflections on my table and a lot of colors, a lot of bright colors. So yeah, hopefully, I get cleared to check it out. But yeah, I mean, there's still certainly quite a reaction, even though I didn't actually see it, there's still a reaction to it. To the song choice at least, and it appears there is a new ending as well. So yeah, I skipped that as well. But once I do get the green light to check it out, once I find out if it is spoiler free enough to check out, I'll certainly give my thoughts on it. Like I said, I certainly enjoyed the song choice. It's quite different. It's really different actually, but I enjoyed it. So it'll be really interesting to see the type of imagery that is paired up with that type of song choice. It's quite a metal choice, isn't it? Now, getting back to the episode itself, imagine how awkward it must be for Chief Yagami, right? Though, of course, before I go any further, he's not officially Chief Yagami anymore. He's not chief anymore. But just like Matsuda said, you're always the chief to me. So he's certainly still the chief to me. He's certainly Chief Yagami to me. But yeah, that has to be a strange situation for a father, right? To listen in on those types of conversations, right? And hearing about how obsessed and madly in love this girl is with his son. She's ready to die for him. And he's clearly heard this on a few occasions at this point, right? So, as a father, it has to be a bit awkward for him. A bit of a strange situation for him, for sure, right? To see this affection, all that affection being shown for his son, right? I mean, it's got to be an awkward situation for any father to be in that situation. But also beyond that, you see that Chief Yagami has run into a bit of a dead end, a roadblock, perhaps, and it doesn't appear that Matsuda and Mogi seem to have any ideas either, right? He turns to them for any ideas on this. But yeah, they're drawing a blank. They are drawing a blank. And I feel like Elle was he kind of predicted that it is going to kind of go down this path, right? A bit of a calculated risk, perhaps. A bit of a calculated choice by Elle, right? And, I'm speaking of the potential act of actually arresting these 7 men. Even though they have a live feed into the boardroom meetings, right? And they have them openly talking about killing rivals and continuing to kill for the, continued growth of the Yotsuba Corporation, right? There's still a matter of it having to go through the right channels, the official channels of law enforcement, right? And they're not official law enforcement anymore, right? So they have to present this evidence, right? And the Death Note, the supernatural aspect of these Kara killings is still a major unknown. It's the biggest unknown. How do you actually link the past killings to these 7 board members, right? The method of the death, right? I mean, they know Kara is able to do something quite unique as far as the killings go, right? As far as the murders go. It's episode 20 now, but it's been established for some time now that, of course, this Kara individual or entity is able to operate on quite a different level in that they only need something like a face and a name, right? Or they can actually kill someone, they can murder someone just by having that type of information, a face and a name. But then, like Al said, they need proof, right, to take Kara down. And how do you prove this, right? This is the major stumbling block right now. How do you connect these kind of, heart attacks and these kind of random killings or murders to these 7 board members, right? The missing piece of the puzzle is the Death Note. It's quite a big missing piece, isn't it? But, they potentially have them for conspiracy to murder, right? They certainly have them for that, in theory at least. But then you have to think about the justice system, right? And the right channels, like I mentioned. And if this evidence would even be admissible in court, right? Given how they've obtained it, right? They're not law enforcement anymore. So, their methods of obtaining this information and this footage, it still remains to be seen if they could even, put this through. And if they would even accept that, if it is admissible in court. And Al removing himself from that area was certainly a calculated move as well, right? As it would also take Light out of that group. And, as established, Light was supposed to be on that side. He firmly agrees with his father, right? But L took him out of that situation and essentially made him part of his plans, through the manipulation of Misa and making her part of this dangerous plan, this essentially turning her into a mole. He essentially cornered Light. And he left him no choice. And Light, figured it out. He knew as much. He thought it was a dirty tactic by L. And Al made it clear that he has no intention or he's not in favor of this investigation, but he reluctantly has to go along, right? He ends up joining. And yeah, in that sense, Al planned it out like this, right? And, Al understands that they have morals, and he puts it out there that he doesn't think that stopping these murders or these potential murders of these, rivals to the Yotsuba Corporation is pointless. He certainly doesn't say that, right? But his priority is to find the truth behind Kara and to end this. Because then Kara is just going to resurface yet again, right? And the bodies are going to pile up again. But I think it's quite clear at this point that learning the true identity of Kara and how he or she functions and is able to kill people or murder people in this manner is the most important thing to L at this moment in time. And he's looking at the bigger picture, at least his version of the bigger picture, right? Again, a few different perspectives here. And yeah, in that sense, it's been made quite clear that L he's not shy about taking certain angles. And by taking Light out of the situation and, that group dynamic, and, this is someone he firmly establishes as perhaps the task force's biggest asset earlier on in the episode, right? But, taking Light out of that group, you can see, they're a bit lost, aren't they? That final scene of the episode, it really shows you that they are kind of running into a dead end. And essentially, I do think that they'll probably have to just go along with L's plan for this, right? For the 7 members of this boardroom, the Yotsuba Corporation. Now, one of the standout moments of this episode is, once again, L putting one of his tests out there, right? He's still firmly testing Light, right? He hasn't given up on that angle. No, not one bit. But I'll get to that part. But, one of the biggest parts, or one of the biggest, things to come out of this is that it appears that L does have Light's grand plan figured out right? Or at least he's thought of that specific possibility, right? That he strategically might have planned to have the powers of Kira, right, return to him, even though he managed to pass that, pass those powers on to someone else. And of course, he plans on doing this once he does clear himself of all suspicion. So, I found that so exciting that he's already thought of this possibility. That Light wasn't under control at all, but rather made it seem like he was under the influence or control of this Kira entity. And as you know from my past discussions, from, perhaps the past 3-4 episodes, essentially since the day he relinquished the Death Note, I've maintained that there's no chance he would do something like that. He would do something that substantial unless he had some sort of grand plan to, recover, or, some sort of recovery plan, a long-term recovery plan, to get the Death Note back and, potentially get the memories back. And of course, he also has Shinigami, right? He's got Shinigami playing a part in this grand plan of his. So, yeah, I firmly believe there's no chance in hell he would just, put this kind of plan into motion if he didn't know that he is going to be able to get the Death Note back. So it's kind of crazy to hear this now, in the show, through the characters, through L and Light, that, L has thought of this possibility and he is thinking of this. So it's kind of crazy, right? So as far as L is concerned, Light is still firmly his prime suspect. It's always been Light for him, right? For a long time now, it's been his prime suspect. And he was right in thinking that he is the type of person who is capable of being corrupted, right? L knows as much. He's figured that out. Or, he's seen as much that Light is capable of being corrupted. Right? He is susceptible to being corrupted and is capable of becoming a murderer, right? I mean, he straight up just point blank tells him that. And of course, that kind of caused another scuffle. Matsuda jumps in real quick to break that up. But yeah, I mean, it's right there. It's been there for a long time, At the end of the day, all roads always kind of lead back to Light Yagami, for L at least. He hasn't given up on that. For him, it's still Light Yagami. That's still the prime suspect in the grand scheme of things. This is a bit of a detour, and it's really interesting to see, and kind of exciting to see that L sees this as a detour, and he does think at some point, maybe Light Yagami is, hoping to, or he put a plan into motion that is going to allow him to become Kira again, or, to obtain the powers of Kira once again. And, speaking of L, you get to see in this episode that L, he's got his own methods, right? And it's been clear for some time now that L, he's not afraid to get dirty as well. That he's not afraid to use some questionable tactics to get results in the long run, right? The results. L himself showcases some of that manipulative side as well, right? Because at this point, both Light and L have used Misa as a tool, or considered her a tool, or, at least had the intentions of using her as just a tool, right, to further their own cause, right, or their own plan. And you see that, right? You also see another angle as L is trying to be quite congenial, right? Quite affable towards Misa. And you see that he reels her right in, right? He is trying to, establish a bit of a friendship now with Misa. He's taken a different approach. And again, like I said, he is also able to be manipulative. And it's quite easy. It is quite easy for L as well to, really reel her in. He knows just the things to say. And I mean, at least he's trying to become more friendly than before, right? He's taken a different approach because he knows how to do it. He knows how to play up to it, right? Like I said, he knew all the right things to do and say to reel her in, right? She immediately changed her opinion of him, right? And, as of this point, she does consider L a friend. So, yeah, L's manipulative side is certainly on display here. He certainly made her feel like she's going to be a major part of this, right? Yet he doesn't seem to show any concern for her safety. That's for sure. Just like Light didn't show any concern for her safety, a few episodes ago. This is before Light gave up the Death Note. I'm speaking of that scene of them being in Light's bedroom. And of course, L doesn't miss much, does he? He knows that Misa is madly in love with Light and just how much she wants to be of use to Light, right? Ultimately to gain even more affection from Light. She's always craved for that, and L saw this from really early on. Around the time he had them detained, right, he saw, through Misa's actions, through the torture, that she has this really unnatural, obsessive attachment to Light Yagami, or, this unnatural love for Light Yagami. So he's known that for some time now, and he's using that now. And, speaking of L and his thought process and how far down the line he thinks about things, right, or plans things out, or has a contingency plan for certain situations, you see that he even brings up, before I go any further, of course, this is all as expected of L, to think on so many different levels, to have so many different ideas and plans in place, contingencies, right? He's even out here talking about how situations might play out or could play out if he was to die, right? And the thing to note here is that he does this in front of, or he talks about these kind of things in front of the whole task force, the entire task force, right? Of course, this is that scene as he's openly praising Light in front of the whole task force, and of course, later on he takes Light from that situation, he takes Light from that group, right? But openly praising him then starts going into the test. That test, he's always got these things in his mind, right? He's always he's always open to, try out a few traps, perhaps, right? And see how Light Yagami responds to these. I used to see them earlier on before Light Yagami gave up the Death Note. Now I get to see this Light Yagami face a test, and he almost instantly clocks it that L is testing him by bringing up this concept of potentially taking over as the new L, almost kind of establishing that it's more so than one specific person and that it might actually be a position. At least that's how L made it sound like, right? That Light Yagami could potentially just, slot right in if L was to die, right? And, again, like I said, it's really interesting to see that he is thinking like this, that these thoughts have occurred to him and that he has planned out, or he is thinking of different angles, even thinking about a potential death, and setting up some things here, right? And, like I said, he's doing this openly in front of the rest of the task force so they can hear this. So, one of the things I found really interesting about this episode is the different reactions to the live feed of the Yotsuba Corporation, right? The boardroom meeting of these men. Openly talking about and discussing who they should kill next, right? To further continue the growth of Yotsuba Corporation, the Yotsuba Corporation, right? So it was really interesting to see the different reactions here. You see that Chief Yagami and Light are absolutely baffled at how nonchalant and cutthroat they are about this, right? To them, it's just, it's essentially just another thing that is part of their, meeting plan, right? Or schedule. And you see quite a clear depiction of the contrast, L's reaction to all of this and Chief Yagami and Light's reaction to all of this. It's a scene as they're discussing this new person, another person that's protesting the Yotsuba Corporation's plans, right? And you see the Light Yagami and Chief Yagami are shocked at this. They're looking at the big screen absolutely shocked, and you see that L is quite calm and he's just going about his business, preparing his Sunday. And you see in L's internal monologue that he knows that it's coming. He knows the thing that's about to happen now. As I mentioned earlier, morals, right? They do start to kick in. Chief Yagami and Light Yagami are completely against letting this continue, right? Essentially, it kind of came down to catch Kira and find out once and for all how he or she is able to murder people, right? And just put an end to it, right? Find out the truth. That's the ultimate goal here for L, at least. Get to the bottom of this. Find out who Kira is. Find out the truth behind Kira. Or stop people from dying at the moment, right? Stop these people that are about to be murdered or are scheduled to be murdered, right? But then you risk the chance of Kara finding out and just killing the remaining 7, right? That's L's concern here. And I say that because, of course, they don't know at this point for sure yet if Kara is one of the 7. I mean, I think it is one of the 7 for sure. But they don't know this, right? They don't know this. And he certainly explains his angle, right? He tells them, at this point in time, the most important thing is to kind of let this play out, because taking action at this point in time is going to, it might kind of, upset the balance of the situation, right? It's a bit of a fine balance at this moment, right? And if you make the wrong move, he's afraid that Kara might just disappear once again, or be able to, escape from the situation once again. And they have to start square one again. If they do take action, right? And try to bring these 7 in. And, again, his angle is that they don't know for sure, right? At this point, yeah, you can take the conspiracy to murder angle, but they don't know for sure if this is, one of them is Kara, or they are attached to Kara, until some of these names they've dropped do end up dying, so essentially letting these murders take place. So yeah, so I know in that sense you could say that even L is ready to allow people to die for, the greater good, sacrifice some lives now to stop the ultimate evil, right? And stop bodies from piling up. And, I thought there's some great visual imagery here, or symbolism here, through L's eating habits. Him playing with the food, you see that in the cup of coffee as he piles on the sugar cubes. At one point, there's quite a bit in there, and you see Mogi is, deep in thought, studying that cup as L is thinking, or talking about this, almost as if he's externalizing his thoughts. They show this. They show the one cube kind of fall off from the overflowing cup as he's speaking of Kara kind of, escaping or reappearing again down the line if they don't find the truth, and then the bodies are going to pile up. And of course, the sugar cubes kind of depicted those bodies being piled up. So I thought it was some great visual symbolism as he's playing with his food. And, this isn't something new. He's been doing this for a long time. In that sense, I do feel like kind of going back to earlier episodes of him kind of playing with his food, right? And the situation the scene might be in, to see if, him playing with this food kind of is a visual symbolism for some of the things they're tackling at that moment in time, or, him externalizing his inner thoughts. Yeah, I'm certainly going to go back to some scenes once I do get some time, or once I do get a chance. And again, that wasn't the only one. I think the one that was even more clear to see is the Jello. He's stacking up these Jello pieces, and, I did check out the episode again, or I did go back to that scene, and it's 7 pieces of Jello, of course. It's clearly kind of depicting the 7 members of that group, right, at the meeting, the Yotsuba Corporation. There's 7 of them. But of course, notice how one of them was red. Now, that was actually quite noticeable even during the episode, and I made note of that. There is one red in the 7 that stands out, and it clearly, presumably that is meant to be a depiction of Kara, right? That Kara is one of the 7. And notice how, he's got it stacked up nicely, right? He's constructing his plan and his plan of action, right? And you see that as he's about to put it in his mouth, Chief Yagami and Light kind of come in together in unison, as L noted, and, he loses his concentration and the cubes fall apart, right? I thought that was a great depiction, a visual depiction or symbolism of, losing track, or, once again losing Kara, right? That he is, right now they do have a good sight at it. They have a good chance at potentially getting Kara. But, I thought it was great symbolism to show the stack, that tower of Jello falling apart. And I thought that it was also a great depiction of how he might be feeling at the moment. And, that does lead him to this new angle, right? That, okay, I think it's better if I do this on my own. You guys are free to do your own thing. To him, it's quite clear at this point that these arguments might lead to this kind of thing, right? That Kara might get away. So I thought it was quite clever to depict it in that manner, him externalizing his inner thoughts and, showing us that because of the other two members of the task force, it kind of crumbled, right? And because of this chaotic situation, Kira could probably get away in real life, right? So he's kind of thinking in that sense that, okay, I have to separate myself from this because, because of this, this clash of morals, there is a possibility Kira could just slip away once again. And of course, it's been established for some time now, L isn't emotional, right? He doesn't have an emotional response to these kind of things. And you see that he's got next to no reaction to hearing these Yotsuba Corporation members openly talk about killing and murdering people, right? Because he knows, the ultimate goal here is to nail Kira once and for all, right? And he's ready to overlook and look beyond some of these murders, for the grand scheme, for the grand plan, for the greater good, perhaps, right? A few murders now, or a pileup once again, right? So yeah, it's nothing new. They've shown us that L is ready to take this kind of angle, right? He was open to detaining Misa and putting her in that position, torturing her, essentially putting her in that really uncomfortable position. They even kind of refer to that in this as he's talking to them in Misa's room. He knows all about it, that she's not going to break even under torturous conditions, right? And then now they've clearly shown that he is ready to let some of these people die in order to get to Kira in that being the ultimate goal here, right? But that being said, Light, he was able to give them about a month, right? He was able to delay these killings or these murders about a month. So it gives them that. And of course, L showed us part of his plan, or L's plan is shown to us, the audience, as he does, plan on using Misa as a mole, as a tool in this investigation. And now, of course, Light was able to delay it by a month by, calling up one of the Yotsuba Corporation members, right? The long-haired guy, Namikawa, I believe, right? He called him right there on the spot, and they have live feed so they could see his reaction, though he kept it quite cool and composed, right? As I mean, that's certainly the hope, right? They don't want him to freak out. Light certainly didn't want him to freak out and give any of the other members any inclination of the call he's on at the moment. And you see that one guy, he does look at him as Namikawa, takes his cell phone or takes the call. He's kind of side-eyeing him. And then they show another close-up of that same guy, his eyes really looking at Namikawa. I mean, of course, he's using his eyes to look at him, but, they bring attention to him really studying Namikawa and really looking at him, right? And then, of course, the bald fellow and in the shades, he immediately asked Namikawa about the conversation he just had on the phone. But in that sense, of course, Namikawa is now crossed off as one of my prime suspects for Kira. I believe I can't remember the exact episode, but it was a few episodes ago. I believe I said that the long-haired guy, Namikawa, now I know the name, and the spiky-haired guy, the long spiky-haired guy, are my two choices for, the suspect of Kira, in this Yotsuba Corporation group. So Namikawa seems to be out because he essentially said, you see that he is afraid. The show's an inner monologue. It does that thing of going into purple as he's having his inner monologue, and he is afraid of Kira potentially finding out that he might be speaking with L, right? And that he might be a bit of a rat in that sense, right? So it's clearly not him. He's not Kira, right? So he's crossed off that list. But, they also set up, I feel like they tried to bring attention to the bald guy in this episode. He was quite noticeable in this. And, of course, they brought attention to the guy in the glasses. And then they brought attention to the guy who doesn't say much, but you see him really side-eyeing Namikawa, right? So, yeah. It's not Namikawa. But sticking on my other suspect, my original two, again, the long-haired guy, Namikawa, and the other guy, the long spiky-haired guy, you see his reaction to Coyle's report. See how frustrated he was, and he mentions he wasn't even able to get us a name or a face, right? A name or a face. That you know, the audience knows that the name on her face is certainly linked to Kira and how Kira is able to use the Death Note, right? So it should be noted that that guy is bringing that up, you know, the concept of a name and a face, and that he is frustrated that Coil, even after, you know, 5 million for this report, he wasn't able to give them or provide a name or a face. Yeah, so I'm keeping that in mind, that this man, the spiky long hair, I mean, it's a strange hairstyle. It's spiky and it's long, but he's the one bringing up, you know, he's the one who's frustrated with not having a name or a face. I think that's about it. But, you know, there's a lot of really fun moments, a lot of really funny moments as L and Light go up to Misa's room. And I kind of love those moments as L kind of gets to be fun or funny, right? Even though he's not really trying to be funny, but his attempts at becoming friendly and just trying a different angle, it really results in a lot of funny situations. That one scene of all three of them in a circle, hand in hand, I mean, that is such such a funny moment. And, you know, I love that in the background you can hear L's reaction to it. He's like, it's a really strange sound, but I just love those moments. Right then, that's about it for this episode. If you enjoyed it, consider dropping a like, consider dropping some comments, give me your thoughts. If you are interested in full length or perhaps even early access to the next episode right now, consider checking out the Patreon page. Again, that's just an option, but if you are interested, check out the link in the pinned comment, in the description, and, you know, perhaps even just check out the plans for anime on my channel in 2021 and beyond. It's quite a substantial list, so, you know, check out the list. I hope to get to a handful of those in 2021. So thank you for joining me, thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again soon for the next one. Until then, take it easy.